everyone. Good morning. Great being here. We have had an exciting couple of days. Everything was talked about AI model, compute, algorithm, cost, you name it, love, passion, sleep. But the reality is that the world is changing. Everything as we know it today is going to be different in a couple of years. And that's what we think, that it's about the change of economy. It's not a change in necessary technology to create a better tech, but the economy is driving this tech transformation. We're moving from siloed apps, millions of apps globally, to billions of agents. Think of agents as single capability services. You are 1,000 walking agent yourself. At any moment, based on your expertise, based on context, you interacting with each other in a different way. Those are your different agents put to work. So at the end of the day, agentic is mimicking human behavior and the physical world. Simply put, billions of autonomous agents that can run across any computing device, from your endpoint devices to this pendant, to on-premise servers, to multi-cloud, and creating a circular economy from a two-sided business model. Today we have smart apps. The way I deal with the smart apps is like child, that they're constantly dependent on the instruction from the workload that resides in the cloud. Imagine you're here in this event, and every move that you want to make, you need to call your boss and say, can I take the move? Can I go to left? Can I speak to Fay? Can I do this? Can I do that? That's what the apps are all about. They don't work offline first. Where is Paul that recommend about don't take things personal so that you can sleep better? Every time I use these apps, I'm like that, agitated. It doesn't work. If there is no connectivity, it can't even cache the content and later send it to the cloud. I have to keep repeating information from one application to another application. And when something doesn't work, who do I call except for Ghostbuster? Another form that I need to fill out and put it in the ether, that maybe somebody, some way, pick up the phone and call me. Or maybe once the company who provide that application is big enough, we can all do a class action lawsuit against them. So they're fragmented experience, they are hierarchical architectures, there is weak interoperability between them, and the business model built based on data robbery. An Uber driver that pays a percentage of its fare to Uber, and then Uber uses its data of the traffic, its data of the behavior of his driving behavior, in order to build a driverless taxi and disintermediate that driver out of the economy and move them aside, creating monopoly versus creating a fair and equitable digital ecosystem. In my book, that driver data need to turn into an equity from Uber back to the driver. That's how we can secure the future of income of the people. AI is inevitable. It's coming. It's here. There is no question. There's no debate on whether we should adopt it or not. The question is, how do we adopt it? How do we implement it? What business model do we create around it? Cloud-centric model today is no longer an innovation. It's actually obsolete. So to those countries that don't have cloud, actually it's your advantage. You don't have legacy to deal with anymore. You can build agentic from the get-go. and actually go ahead of every other market that is available in the world. Sovereignty in the cloud is pre-orchestrated. Again, I'm here. I want to talk to Peter. I have to call and say, do I have the authority to call Peter? Talk to Peter? No. In a natural way, when Peter and I meet, we talk, and based on the confidentiality of information, he's not revealing everything about his work to me, but he just provides me with a piece of information that is okay to share with, not the whole information about how he has. So sovereignty is in the cloud managed by pre-orchestration. Security is an afterthought. Send your information and then we secure it over there. Policy update is about pre-planning of the policy change. And we all know that the physical world is a messy work. Everything changes all the time and in last minute. I changed my presentation almost 10 times. I thought that Martha is going to kill me today. So that's really the state of cloud. And one of the biggest problems is the fact that we don't have enough bandwidth, we don't have enough energy, and the cost is to the roof. Today, most of the time, if you want to apply AI, you have to lose your shirt with it because it's too costly. And everybody knows there was a post on LinkedIn that developers pay Cursor $500 per seat per month. Cursor pays $1,000 to OpenAI. OpenAI pays $10,000 to NVIDIA. NVIDIA pays tens of thousands of dollars to Amazon Web Services. Who makes the money? Nobody, except for AWS and NVIDIA. So energy consumption. If you think every time we're sending a stream of video, every time we're sending a stream of data, every time Maximus responds to your question, we're burning water, we're consuming energy, we're going through cost. And that's not sustainable when you have billions of agents. You have billions of devices, from the camera at the corner of your house, to your wearable that you're wearing, to your mobile phone. And there isn't enough bandwidth. Those who think there is enough bandwidth and we're just going to get faster and faster and faster, it's a mistake. Because cellular networks was actually designed for one person, one device making a call, sending 2 SMSs. Every application on your device is actually equivalent to 10 users, because the applications behind the scene is sending traffic over the network. It's almost like they're ready to take an action, and in order to keep the channel, they constantly have to send bits over network. The Vodacom person that is in the room can vouch for that. So now we have to change the infrastructure. This is not sustainable. And we have to learn from nature. We need a better path to a proper software infrastructure that can support this transition to billions. And that path, if you look at brain, the way that the brain operates, 86 billion neurons are operating, helping us making decisions, helping us take the steps forward and backward, and all that on the energy of one light bulb. Why? Because it's local first. It's utilizing the energy that I am producing. I have from what I ate, from the exercise, from the sleep, and all that. So it first utilizes the energy of what I create. And that's the path forward to agentic AI. Today we talk about the most advanced AI algorithms. We talk about the most advanced robotic, but then the underlying infrastructure is actually not designed for those processing of data, for those fast decision-making, for those scalability and dynamic and agility of the system that we need in physical world. Because as the situation changes, these solutions need to change with us, right? So to some degree, this reminds me of when we moved from cellular voice to mobile internet. And the first version of applications was, let's grab a big browser, shrink it, put it on the phone, and that's the app you have. But then very quickly, people realized that experience is not the same, it's clunky, it's too much, too heavy. And what they did is that they started creating mobile native application. Cloud got invented, and a business model of software as a service got created. So now as we go to agentic, if we want to have a sustainable solution, if we want to have a solution that is personalized to us, not just by one agent, but by hundreds of agents, then we need to change the infrastructure. Why? As I said, it's because we're going to have lots and lots of compute, and all these computing devices are generating traffic. From this pendant to tens of computing devices, from microcontroller to CPU to GPU inside the car, from microcontroller to CPU to GPU inside the drone, inside the robot, inside your appliances. And these computing devices are the space where you can run the workload. So every function of that device is going to be an agent on that compute. Therefore, you have an agentic experience inside the car, agentic experience across the car with each other and with drone, and agentic experience with the global world. And this pattern has always been, we call it the pendulum, from centralized to decentralized. Depending on where the compute is, the way we developed application, the way we developed solution changed. The way that our software architecture was designed changed. We moved from mainframe to desktop, then we separated to client server, then we went to virtual machines and VMware, then we created cloud, where the app runs on the device and all the computing is on the cloud servers. And now, compute is everywhere, and it's going to continue like that. Therefore, we need to move from siloed apps to agentic and to agentic economy. That's why we created this notion of Device-First Continuum AI. It's not about either or. It's not about edge computing versus central computing. It's about the AND gate, everything. Just like the way human operates. I first say, can I do this? Yes. I'm good. No. Call Peter. Can Peter do this with me? Yes. Is he here? Yes. Can you discover him and tell him to come and to help me? Yes. Right? So that's exactly mimicking human behavior. And with that, think of every device now have the ability to be its own cloud server, right? Which means that the agent on device can process the data that gets produced on device to extract the knowledge from it, and then decide, where is this knowledge going to go? And the crucial part of this is context. You know, AI is not going to be practical without context. Context is about who am I, where am I, what am I about to do, what is my relationship with the environment around me, in order to decide what action I want to take. Am I in the context of presenting to an audience, or am I in the context of talking to my friend Jennifer? Or am I in the context of doing something for work? That context is real at this moment. I have more context about what is happening here than my team in the office right now. And that's why over time, as much as people are talking about training in cloud, the next version is going to be actually federated training across the continuum, because the context is richer and real. You don't send data to create an imaginary form of context, and because the data source is right here on device. So how are we making this practical? Based on 3 principles: agentic-native architecture, zero-config security, and adaptive workload. Agentic-native architecture means that agents can dynamically move between the environments, regardless of what kind of operating system, what kind of device, what kind of network, what kind of a cloud computing I have. Which means that if there is a Wi-Fi here, but no internet access, we can communicate, collaborate, and take action and do whatever we have to do, offline first. Zero config means that I don't work based on pre-orchestrated planning. Not everything can get orchestrated. There is one orchestration, which means we all need to be here. There is an event that happens in 2 days. But then beyond that, everything changed dynamically. Ask Mick and Shane about how many things changed last minute. Zero, and then adaptive workload distribution. That means that depending on the task, the system can adapt, and multiple agents can communicate with each other. While you have built-in security and resiliency, which means that zero trust security from the device. You don't send to secure later, you secure from here every scope of transaction. Therefore, you achieve sovereignty in context while you're executing versus building a data center in order to create sovereignty. And this is a machine-to-machine human loop. This is not, again, about either or. This is about living continuum compute that creates the collaboration that agentic system needs. And we apply a 80-20% rule, which means with DFC-AI, the task that can be done locally gets done locally. Supervision globally gets done globally. Supervision on an enterprise side is done on their on-premise data center. And then at night, when nobody's around, these compute can be utilized in order to do data analytics, more processing, extract knowledge, and own the corporate digital soul. Own your own digital soul, if this is a consumer application. And nationally, own your own digital soul. Because you want to be the owner of your data and the owner of your information. Otherwise, your business is vulnerable, you are vulnerable, and your country is vulnerable. So think of DFC-AI as basically an environment where agents can run, and therefore habit can grow, and the system can learn. So instead of having siloed application, you have this dynamic workflow that works based on follow, observe, respond, and learn. Follow the situation, observe for an event, respond accordingly, and learn from the loop, just like human does. When we look at robotics, there is a pre-training like you send the robots to school. But then what about when they are in the environment and they have to learn from each other? Because today that is not happening. When Maximus is walking around, if he's lifting a box and that blocks his vision, it cannot ask the camera for help and say, observe the environment, and in case you see danger, let me know. Whether that camera is from the same manufacturing or a different vendor, right? That's how we operate. When a drone is lifting up and carrying a box for delivery, if its camera all of a sudden observe a fire, that drone, just like human, that you pick up the phone and call your friends or call 911 or emergency response, that drone should have the ability to send a notification to another drone on the path and say, hey, watch out. Hey, fire department, you need to take action there. So that's really what we enable. Mimik is enabling through this agentic-native environment that is execution environment and operating environment. And this is not really a vaporware. This is not a slideware. This is not concept. It's actually available. It's running, and it's already delivered into multiple places. And when it comes to robotic, as I mentioned, it's actually about creating interoperability. Because if these robots, if these devices are operating within our physical environment, they need to be self-aware, situational aware, collaborative with others, and also preserve our privacy. I'm a techie. I don't want any smart camera in my home. It makes me nervous. I put a camera for my mom in her house, and every time I open that camera application, there's an advertising coming up. And I'm wondering, what are they watching? You know, that's quite troublesome. So at the end of the day, this is about a complete massive shift. And at the core of it, we have to be protective of our data. We have to treat our data as a financial asset. The way I see it today, we're sitting behind a computer and prompting an LLM. But in future, in a real agentic AI economy, when that doors opens, that creates an event into the system. And that's the prompt into an agentic system, to other devices, to other solutions. That virtual reality that we're talking about is superimposed in our physical space in order to create a better experience for us. So the experiential layer moves from 2D to 3D as well. That imagine that it can work and change and transform based on our heart rates, our energy in environment, our movement in environment. That's the immersive experience that comes to our physical space versus being a separate environment that you need to go to. So the physical and digital intertwine and become one. And that's why you have to treat your data as a national treasure and national asset. Because the way I see it, one day, we each going to have our own agentic storefront, which are formed of agents that we designed based on our expertise and exist in this world. So when the prompt comes to the system, it discovers different agents get discovered, they collaborate with each other, they drive to an outcome. And anybody who had a role in infrastructure creation, in agent creation, in AI model creation, in that chain can now get a percentage of that transaction that happened between the agents. To me, that's the way to create income versus creating monopoly just by few people. The agentic economy is not measured in billions. It's measured in trillions. So it's truly the economy of abundance. Because knowledge never ends. Knowledge as a service never ends. There is no limit to knowledge. No. And that's the value of data. Every natural resource has a limitation. Mine finishes, copper finishes, right? Data doesn't finish. The more knowledge gets created on data and knowledge on knowledge, the richer that knowledge becomes. And that needs to have a value that gets even inherited from you to your next generation. From mother to daughter to son, and etc. So you have an opportunity. You don't have a deficiency in South Africa. You have an opportunity to build from scratch with agentic-native system, utilizing the computing devices that are in your pocket to start with. We delivered the solution to a factory, and they said that the best camera is the camera in the pocket of my employee to detect something, because these devices are constantly growing in power and capability. And the winners of this trillion-dollar economy are the ones that are actually adopting agentic-native versus continuing on the cloud path. So think, build, execute in agentic mode. This is not just a technology change, it's an economy change. It's a shift in mindset, it's a shift in architectural pattern, and it's the foundation of a new economy that everybody can benefit from. Or if we don't do anything from it, it's just going to be in the hand of few companies as a monopolization that own us all. Thank you very much.